Traveling back towards the southwest, we'll see how water control and soil erosion problems have been addressed through a successful partnership between water management and local government. Rattlesnake Lake is a public recreation site on district lands. Not long ago, vehicle access threatened the very existence of the lake. Don Walters is chairman of the Orange Hill Soil and Water Conservation District in nearby Chipley. Over the years, Orange Hill has successfully worked under contract with water management on a number of erosion control and mitigation projects.
What it was, there was a lot of dirt washing into the Rattlesnake Lake, coming down the hill from four-wheelers and four-wheel drive trucks and everything that was going up and down using it as a recreational area.
Local people went down there to fish, and this was the shortest route. They got to this point, there's the lake, they turned down there and went to it, but the soils are just not suitable for traffic, so it eroded and gullied, and all the sand that washed down, the county'd put more dirt in, it'd wash, and they'd bring more dirt in, it'd wash, it all ended up in the lake down there. What the water management did was cut this road off, and they changed its route down here of like a more gradual slope down to the lake. And our job was to stop the erosion that was occurring right here in this going into this lake down here. So we planted longleaf pine, wiregrass, and switchgrass, which is a kind of a native grass. They didn't want anything that wasn't native here, no bahia grass, anything like that. They wanted it strictly to be native grasses, and so we planted those three species, and a lot of it has survived. Even though this is a hostile environment for anything to live, it's done fairly well. There's a fairly high survival rate on the longleaf pine and the wiregrass too, and it started to reseed a little bit, and it's going to take a long time to totally heal, but it's started the process.
It's amazing how much soil is not washed into the lake. If it had been going on much longer, the lake would have been filled up and no lake.
As I walk through this woods along this log, what should I behold but an eastern king snake? This animal is a native species of this habitat type. It's non-venomous, quite harmless. As you can see, it's not even attempting to bite me. It eats rodents and snakes, especially venomous ones. So he provides useful functions for the environment and is one of the components of biodiversity that the Northwest Florida Water Management District is trying to conserve by restoring and managing this very type of wonderful habitat with a lot more species in it than just this guy. I'm gonna let him go. Moving back to Econfina Creek, we'll meet the successful family owners of a business based on sustainable green ecotourism.
I'm April Gay with Econfina Creek Canoe Livery, home of Florida's most beautiful canoe trail. Our family's been in business here for about 22 years now. What you do is put in here at our place, and we've got canoes and kayaks available. Trip that people typically take is from here to Highway 388 Bridge. It's about a 3.5-hour trip, and along the way there's 6 different crystal clear sandy bottom springs that you can stop and swim, picnic, fish, whatever you like to do, and we pick you up and bring you back to your car. And we get a lot of the locals that come, as well as out-of-towners that come to enjoy the natural springs. My grandparents bought the property back in 1977 and actually moved up here the year I was born. And then my parents opened the business back in 1985, and I participated in the business since I was a child, and now my children participate in the business. The Econfina Creek is a unique creek in the fact that it has seven different springs. They're all crystal clear springs, and it's got the honeycomb lime rock banks on the way down, which is a really pretty sight. And you see a lot of different animals up here, from fish to birds and even some deer, squirrels, that kind of thing. And there are different kind of flowers blooming in the summertime. We've got the mountain laurel, we've got the wild azaleas, so it's a really pretty time during the summer as well. It's nice in the fact that we know we're helping the environment. We don't use any kind of motors on our boats. our canoes or kayaks. And so that helps, and that's very important with Econfina Creek. It does provide most of Bay County's drinking water. Water management's done a lovely job. Even though they're not in the recreation business, they're actually here for conservation. When we moved up here, and this was back since I was a child, there was a lot more litter. Some of the water was polluted, some of the bodies of water around here. And they took the time to clean up and really better the place. I think it helps out the local economy as well, brings people in, of course, to the restaurants and motels to stay. And it's a nice, clean business and a chance for people to really experience nature. I'll be here forever. As long as there's Econfina Creek, I'll be here.
We cross over to the east side of the creek, searching for a window into the past. In this historic cemetery lie the remains of the African-American Gaynor family, dating back over 100 years. The cemetery, which is on Water Management District property, is currently undergoing preservation. Not more than a couple hundred yards away, we've discovered an even older slice of history. One of the many benefits the public derives from the Water Management District lands is they have inventoried and they protect archaeological treasures, just like this. This is an old gristmill. There's a dam on this beautiful little creek that used to spill water into a big wheel that was on an axle that turned a grindstone. And this is how the locals used to grind their corn, the major staple of the South. Well, guess what? In 1864, the Union Army came through here and burnt this gristmill and many others. So we have a wonderful history here. All of this goes to show that the Water Management District does a whole lot more than just conserve the water resource. In this case, it conserves archaeological treasures. Leaving the historic mill and traveling west along Highway 20, we discover how native habitat restoration contributes to the health of the watershed. I'm walking in a planted sandpine forest. This forest is very different from the original longleaf pine ecosystem that used to be here. The main difference is in the richness of plants and animals. Here you see a virtual desert of nothing but pine needles and very few plants. But in the natural native forest here, whew, the biodiversity was fantastic. This was once one of those sandpine forests. This is about 8 or 10 years of attempt to restore the native longleaf pine wiregrass forest with all of its fantastic biodiversity. Water Management purchased this land to restore it to its natural shape, natural form. It was out of kilter due to forest management practices in the past, the wrong species, predominantly sand pine planted by timber companies for pulp production. That's the major off-site species that we encounter. And what we're trying to do here is restore it back by removing off-site species and put it back to its natural state. Putting longleaf back and adding some supplemental wiregrass just to enhance that process and speed it up. This is a fire-driven ecosystem, and the ground cover prevents soil movement and carries fire to keep the system in its natural state. Without the ground cover, the fire won't carry, and without the ground cover, the soil erodes.
Well, what we have here is a longleaf restoration site. And in 2005, this was a sand pine plantation that we harvested, and then we replanted it in longleaf. But the harvesting left a big seed bank of sand pine that has sprouted up, and we have a crew here going through there with chainsaws cutting the sand pine out of the longleaf. So this is the sand pine right here that they have already cut down. And this is a longleaf.
Over the years, while conducting our habitat restoration activities, we've pretty much figured out how to restore the longleaf pine overstory. But we're really having problems trying to restore the ground cover. And one of the keystone species we want to try to restore is the wiregrass. And the way you have to restore that is you've got to have large quantities of seed. This site is a wiregrass donor site. What we typically do in wiregrass donor sites is we'll come in mid-May to mid-June. We'll run a growing season burn through here. This will make the wiregrass and some of the other ground cover plants go to flower, and then they'll ripen seeds all during the summer, and then mid-November to mid-December we'll come in here with a hand collector or mechanical collecting devices, and we'll collect the seed for use in growing more wiregrass plants or for direct seeding activities on other district lands that we're trying to restore.
What we're doing is restoring these areas from pasture to the original longleaf pine wiregrass. And one of the steps in establishing the longleaf pine wiregrass is to get the ground cover established, and that's why we're planting the wiregrass. This could be actually used as a donor site. In other words, once this wiregrass gets established, we'll come back and we'll collect the seed from it. And we'll actually use the seed for other areas that need to be restored. In the future, I have a feeling that we probably will plant some longleaf pine to make the complete system of longleaf pine wiregrass.
This is the longleaf pine wiregrass ecosystem, a vista of open canopied pines, the longleaf pine, with a very diverse ground cover of herbaceous vegetation. Now this may not look very biodiversity rich right now because it's been burned recently and all this is new growth, but there are upwards of 150 species of plants per 2.5 acre plot here. That's how rich it is. And of course, wherever you have plant species richness, guess what follows that? Animal species richness. So why is it more important to have a wonderful biodiverse longleaf native ecosystem on a site like this than that densely planted sandpine forest? Well, biodiversity is intrinsically very valuable, and we all want that. But the Water Management District wants also to protect the water resource, and in sandpine forest, they intercept more rainwater than longleaf pine forest. So the longleaf pine forest is a better source of recharging our groundwater than is that nasty sandpine forest. Red wolf and Florida panther are just two of the mammals that have gone extinct in the Florida Panhandle. Black bear and bobcat have been on the decline for years, but restoration and maintenance of native habitat is crucial to their survival. Both these species utilize the wetlands as well as the uplands of Water Management District lands. Although saving these iconic American mammals is not the district's main objective, their survival is greatly enhanced by the district's main mandate for water protection.